Welcome to Her Remarkable History. Remember to support our channel, please subscribe. The oblivious wife of the Commandant of Auschwitz. One of the most awful and despicable war criminals of the Second World War was Rudolf Höss. He was a man who would admit to the mass killing of millions at his concentration camp of Auschwitz. He later admitted at the Nuremberg trials that I commanded Auschwitz until the 1st of December 1943, and estimate that at least 2.5 million victims were executed and exterminated there by gassing and burning, and at least another 500,000 succumbed to the starvation and disease, making a total of 3 million dead. This figure represents about 70% or 80% of all persons sent to Auschwitz as prisoners, the remainder having been selected and used for slave labour in the concentration camp industries. Included among the executed and burnt were approximately 20,000 Russian prisoners of war who were delivered at Auschwitz in Wehrmacht transports operated by regular Wehrmacht officers and men. The remainder of the total number of victims included about 100,000 German Jews and great numbers of citizens from the Netherlands, France, Belgium, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Greece, or other countries. We executed about 400,000 Hungarian Jews alone at Auschwitz in the summer of 1944. He was a man who was proud of the fact he had created a concentration camp which was brutal and completely barbaric in its killing. He wanted to create Auschwitz to be a site which was efficient in the mass slaughter of hundreds of thousands of people, but despite being in charge of Auschwitz as the commandant, he was married to a woman who seemingly did not know what her husband's true line of work was. But what is the story of the oblivious wife of the Commandant of Auschwitz? On the 17th of August 1929, Rudolf Höss married Hedwig Hensel, a woman who was born in 1908. The pair had been a part of the Ottoman League, which was a group that promoted a back-to-the-land lifestyle, and they wanted to back farming over growing urbanisation in Germany. The pair were vocal in this group, and they met through their shared passion, but Hedwig would marry a man who would, in just over a decade, become one of the most brutal and barbaric war criminals of the Second World War. Together the couple had 5 children, 2 sons and 3 daughters, with their youngest daughter being born actually inside of Auschwitz. Rudolf Höss had a career inside of the SS, and he was close with Heinrich Himmler, and he was seen as a loyal man, but he was then dispatched to Poland to try and research a site in western Poland to establish a huge concentration camp. The report that Höss created led to the creation of Auschwitz, and he too became the commandant, and he commanded it for 3.5 years, and he expanded the site on a huge basis to create many different elements of Auschwitz. He was responsible for the complex known as Auschwitz-Birkenau, which became the main killing area of the site. But as prisoners moved inside of the camp and the barbed wired fences, the Höss family, including Hedwig and the children, moved into a villa nearby. The commandant's house, or the villa, was in the corner of the camp, and the trees and large garden wall deliberately obscured the view of the chimney of the crematoria, where the bodies of men, women and children who had been killed in the gas chambers were being burned. The house was considered luxurious, and the family never had to want for anything, as it was brought from the concentration camp nearby. The flower beds were tended to by the family, and there was a well-tended lawn with a garden shed. There was also fences made from the same concrete as the fences of Auschwitz, in a sense, a normal family home, with paintings on the walls and carpeted floor and views of the local area. Further alterations to the home were made to add an earth mount in front of the concrete wall to make sure that the camp crematoria could not be seen by Hedwig and the children. There were prisoners that worked inside of the house, and it was said how even the eldest child, Klaus, used to treat them poorly, as he would carry a horsewhip and would beat them. However, despite this, what is rather strange is that allegedly Rudolf Höss's wife, Hedwig, did not know anything about the murderous and brutal aspect of Auschwitz and the fact her husband was running a camp where over 1 million people would be killed. Her husband allegedly lived a double life, where he was a murderer and a brute at work, but at home he was a doting father and wife, and he allegedly separated these well and disguised the real intent of Auschwitz to his wife and children. However, she was anti-Semitic, and one prisoner who worked as the family's gardener said, "Frau Höss reminded me about an incident, forcing me in doing whatever she asked to." The couple hated everything that was Polish. Frau Höss often used to say to me that all Jews had to disappear from the globe, and there would even come a time for English Jews. Rudolf continued to lie to his wife on a daily basis as to what was happening at Auschwitz. However, she would find out what was actually going on at Auschwitz herself. She overheard Fritz Bracht, the Gaultier of Silesia, explaining what happened at the site and explaining the gas chambers and the crematoria, and she was disgusted that this mass killing was happening at her husband's place of work, and also at the place he was running. Because of this, she argued with him, and she refused to share a bed with her husband, who was a killer of thousands. It was Höss who himself settled on using the specific type of gas to kill as many people as he could, but Hedwig struggled with her husband's line of work, and as the end of the war approached, she moved to Flensburg with her eldest son, and it was here where she was arrested by the Allies. She was then sent to the British Army's 92nd Field Security Section and was interrogated for a matter of weeks, as the British wanted to know where her husband was. She later gave over the information, saying he had changed his name to Franz Lang and was working as a gardener. She then gave over her husband's location. It would be his wedding ring that played a large part in his arrest. Höss was arrested by Hans Alexander, who served for the British Army. He led 25 soldiers and found Rudolf Höss, the commandant of Auschwitz, hiding on a farm in Germany. Höss asked him for his name, and he handed him false papers, but they knew he was the man they were looking for. Alexander then demanded his wedding ring, and Höss claimed that it was stuck on, and Alexander then threatened to cut his finger off with a kitchen knife. But then he took off the ring, and Alexander looked at the ring and saw the carved on the inner sides were the named Rudolf and Hedwig, his wife. Hedwig Höss and her husband had very different last years of their life. Hedwig moved to America, and she died in her sleep in 1989. She had remarried, but her husband was executed inside of Auschwitz. He was sentenced to death for his crimes, and the former prisoners petitioned to allow the commandant to be executed on a specially built gallows inside of the camp he once oversaw, and this was allowed. But what is strange is that Hedwig Höss, and her lack of knowledge of what happened inside of Auschwitz, she continued to maintain that she did not know about the brutality of Auschwitz and the killing process that her husband had overseen and crafted. She claimed he would not discuss work and his activities in the camp, but what was shocking is that the crematorium was constantly burning. She did not suspect anything. We know that she was anti-Semitic and shared many of the same views as the other ardent Nazis, but today Hedwig Höss is known for being the oblivious wife of the Commandant of Auschwitz, who was outraged when she found out about the truth of Auschwitz. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.